Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. From the latest signings to this year's breakout stars and all of the news in between. As always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
What's up, man?
What's up?
We're without Anthony today. He'll be joining us again tomorrow, as always. But today we have some fun segments for you. We're going to be talking Monday Night Football between the New York Jets and the Arizona Cardinals, a very one-sided game at that. We're going to be talking Dak Prescott here in the second half of the show, whether or not he should remain the starter when Tony Romo is healthy and ready to go. And we'll be talking some college football at the end of the show, some teams that look primed to stay in the college football conversation, the playoff conversation, and some teams that might fall right up out of there. We'll be doing that on the third half of the show, that last bit of the show before we get going. But we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals hosting the New York Jets on Monday Night Football last night. A win for the Arizona Cardinals, 28-3. Over the New York Jets. Carson Palmer leads the way with 213 yards and one touchdown. A very efficient day from him. Leads the way passing because, I say that, Drew Stanton got a pass in there too. 1 for 1 for 12 yards. I believe Carson came out of the game because of some cramping due to his hamstring. But the offense was really led by second-year running back David Johnson. 22 carries, 111 yards, a 3-touchdown game. He played very well, one being a 58-yard touchdown that he looked really shifty and really fast on. Like, insanely fast. Like, I was like, wow, I didn't know you're that fast.
Yeah, he showed a lot of patience on that run as well.
And power. He threw some guys over, too. Not much in the receiving game. I mean, in terms of numbers, John Brown was your leading receiver at 54 yards on 5 receptions. But he spread the ball around very nicely. 8 receivers. Pretty good day there, like I said, for Carson Palmer. 2 interceptions to speak of. One by Tyrann Mathieu and one by safety DJ Swearinger, formerly of the Houston Texans. But, needless to say, it was a good defensive performance, but it was a horrible offensive performance from the New York Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 16 for 31, 174 yards, and one of those interceptions, I believe, yes, his was to Swearinger. Geno Smith came in actually at the end of this game, did not show any kind of poise in terms of, he didn't look great at all. 4 for 6. I mean, yeah, I guess 4 for 6. Your number's 31 there. That's not bad. One pick, though, a very ugly pick on the sideline to Tyrann Mathieu. A kind of thing like, why would you throw that? Todd Bowles has come out and said that next week's starter will be Ryan Fitzpatrick. He has stuck behind him, and honestly, after seeing Geno come in and do what he did, I probably wouldn't start Geno next week either, only because, I mean, he didn't show any kind of any spark or anything. Now, I remember yesterday I was telling you these huge rushing numbers, 2 horrible rushing numbers we had all weekend in the NFL. Well, the Cardinals ended up with 171, of course, 111 of those coming from Mr. Johnson. The Jets, on the other hand, ended up with 14 rushes for 33 yards, 19 of which a team high coming from Matthew Forte. Very bad when you have 33 team rushing yards. I mean, very bad when you only scored 3 points. The Cardinals scored a touchdown in each quarter, and the only points coming for the Jets were in the second with their field goal. That's where I got the 3 points. The Jets were led by Brandon Marshall, 3 for 70, but a quiet day for him overall, you could say. They hooked up with 7 receivers, but again, a team total of 205 yards roughly, excluding those sacks. Minus 8 yards there for, I don't know, I've never liked that when you get sacked, you lose passing yards, but whatever. 205 technical total passing yards for the team. No touchdowns to speak of course, on any side. Geno Smith fumbled the ball as well. He did not lose that, though. This was as one would say, a garbage fire for the Jets.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah, what do you think of this? What do you think of that performance, or at least lack thereof, that they put out last night?
Man, the Jets, they need to find out what they have in Christian Hackenberg.
He's not ready to play.
I know, but they need to see what he has. Even if he doesn't start right away, I think he's going to get some time at the end of the year. I kind of agree with the Tall Bulls not starting Geno Smith. Even in limited time, man, he looked terrible.
Yeah, I mean, 4 for 6. Yeah, but they were short fours. That pick was ugly. It was the personification of what Geno Smith does. I wouldn't start him either.
No. And I thought he was going to start him because we see what Fitzpatrick can do.
Yeah,
but
this year
it looks
in the second
like
half, 10 receptions, no touchdowns.
Yeah, but it looks like Tall Bulls realize, well, maybe Fitzpatrick gives this team a better chance. And if Fitzpatrick gives your team a better chance, then you just got to stick with that guy if you think he does. But Fitzpatrick, that holdout kind of looks kind of silly now.
Yeah, this team, they're 1-5 now. Their only win on the road against the Bills. They looked at this team as a team that was ready to go without a quarterback. Their only thing was they needed Fitzpatrick. This team did not suffer a lot of turnover. Yeah, they've been hit by some injuries, but not like the Chargers have, not like the Packers have. They still have a lot of key people on both sides of the ball. But they're playing horribly. They're 1-5, like I said. They're not a good team. Brandon Marshall said, no, we are not a good team. As of right now, the Jets, like I said, they're dead last place. They are 21st in the league in terms of passing yards for them. They're 21st in the league for rushing yards for them. And points for, they are dead last in the league at 15.8. That is going to win you negative games if it's possible. There's no way you can do that. And then you have the Cardinals who had off start to the year, but they came in and looked normal against this team, against the Jets. They looked horrible. The Jets looked absolutely horrible.
Yeah, and I kind of want to get back to the Cardinals here. It kind of looked like an underwhelming game for Carson Palmer, even though they won.
Yeah, nothing amazing.
Yeah, he didn't have that typical – he didn't light this defense up like I thought he would. But
last year he would have.
He would have. And I think maybe that's his age or –
But at the same time, he didn't need to.
Or exactly. And I was going to get to that. He has David Johnson, who has the most yards from scrimmage in the league right now. The first
best running back that Palmer's had since Cedric Benson.
Wow,
that's because he hasn't had a running back really since then.
No, he hasn't.
He had
Andre
Ellington and Chris Johnson.
He had Darren McFadden, but McFadden's
never been great.
But that was an injured Darren McFadden.
When has Darren McFadden not been injured? Darren McFadden
is Darren McFadden still in the league?
Yeah, he's on the Cowboys. Remember, he broke his elbow.
He's still on the Cowboys?
Remember, he broke his elbow. Remember, trying to catch his phone.
Oh, that's right.
And I always remember that. I forget. I think it was his running back coach. He said, "When were you drafted again?" I think 2007 or 8 or whatever. He goes, "So before the rookie bargaining agreement." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You have that pre-CBA money."
Yeah.
He goes, "Let the phone fall. You can replace it."
Yeah,
I always thought that was funny.
That was funny. I'm
pre-CBA money.
I'm so glad you reminded me of that. That was so funny.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But
anyways,
go ahead.
Yes. David Johnson is practically the team's offense right now. I'm not saying he's all the offense, but this offense goes through David Johnson.
I mean,
right
they
now.
scored 4 touchdowns last night, and 3 of them were from
And
him.
remember, he also went off last week against the Niners as well.
Yeah, he had a great game last week. Yeah, he's on a roll. I mean, he's playing great ball. He's looking really good. Looking poised. I told you this year I didn't think he'd have a great fantasy year, which other than this week he hasn't really.
And then I disagree with you because I thought he did.
But like I said, with the way the team started, I'm not necessarily wrong. I mean, if this keeps up, I will be. You know what I mean? But I mean, he's definitely had a slow start, just like the Cardinals have. But the Cardinals currently sit at 3-3. They are not in last place of their division. As a matter of fact, they are sitting currently third. They're
tied for second.
Technically they're tied for second, but the tiebreaker goes to the Rams. Seattle has the 4-1 first spot, and then obviously the Niners are in the dungeon there at 1-5. But Arizona's starting to put some pieces together. I look at their upcoming schedule. It's not going to be easy. They have Seattle this week. That's going to be a tough game. I believe it's Sunday night. They have them at home, though, and it's a game they've won at home and on the road, but not at this level that they're playing. This was last year's team. This was a good team. They have the Panthers next following that week, and I think they can win that one because the Panthers are definitely the worst of the two teams, coming off of that NFC Championship game. And then they have the Niners, who I believe they can destroy again. Their second time playing them, they didn't necessarily destroy them the first time, but I believe they can beat them again.
They would have if Palmer played in that game.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And then they have the Vikings, unfortunately. But they can win 2 of those 4 games, and they could be looking at a 2-2 through those 2 weeks, and they can
go 5-5
right there. I don't think they can beat Seattle. I really don't think they can beat the Vikings, but I do think they can win those other 2 games. And maybe they'll surprise us. Seattle has looked weird at times this year. They are 4-1. They're playing well. They should have lost this week. I'm going to stand by that. They should have lost this week.
No, that was a terrible call, by the way, at the end of that game.
Yes, I won't get into it, but yeah, that was bad. That was bad. But I think they should have lost that game. They are beatable. Now the Cardinals have shown that in the past they can beat them, but they also have shown this year they are not the Cardinals of the past. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Yeah,
this offense isn't explosive as we thought it was. It's
not like last year.
And maybe that's due to Carson Palmer's age. He is getting older. He is 36.
I forget how old Carson is, but you're not far off.
But he is pretty there in the late 30s.
Yeah, he's up there.
But this team is still good. I'm not gonna write them off. This team is still good. They have a good defense. They got they have a good team around them.
Yeah, I'd say defensive-wise, no cornerback is better in man coverage than Patrick Peterson, and in terms of per Pro Football Focus, they rank them, And then Tyrann Mathieu is the NFL's best hybrid defender, somebody who plays multiple positions. I think it's at least 3 positions. Of course, he plays the nickel, the dime kind of slot corner. He plays safety, and he comes in and plays that linebacker spot. So he is rated and listed as the best in the league at that, and Patrick Peterson the best in man coverage. So clearly they have 2 very good defensive players. You have good front 7 players as well, underrated secondary members behind those 2. The defense is there. The offense has just been sputtering as of before yesterday, I suppose.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals drafted a quarterback in the draft this year. But I want to get into the Jets. Do you think Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter the entire year? I don't think he is.
No, I think with more performances like this, he'll lose it. I think he'll definitely end up losing it.
Man, it's going to be tough because you got Geno Smith behind him. So you're going to throw Bryce Petty in there? Or Christian Hackenberg, who is not ready,
well, Petty's still hurt.
Yeah, Yeah, who are you going to throw out there,
You throw Geno.
Geno?
Yeah, and then have still have Fitzpatrick as his backup in a sense, and then you have Hackenberg probably not dressing still. And then if it gets to the point where it's just horrible, maybe you give him some shots. But.
And even though they had Hackenberg in the second round, I still think this team might take a quarterback if they happen to pick very low in the first round of the draft this year. I think they will. We can possibly see 3 to 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could, because remember, you got the Browns, you got the Niners, the Bears, and now the Jets that need a quarterback.
I don't think the Jets will go first round with the quarterback.
No, they won't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they
in the first few rounds.
In the first few rounds, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like you said with the Cardinals also, they currently have 2 quarterbacks on their roster, Carson Palmer, who is 36, as you said, and Drew Stanton, who is a career backup, unfortunately. In that sense, he's played well in relief. He really has, but I still think he won't necessarily be a starter. He is 32, so yes, definitely time for them to probably go find another backup. I think practice squad-wise, I think Barkley is still there.
Yeah. Matt Barkley is still there.
But again, probably more of a backup still. We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah,
we've seen USC quarterbacks that aren't quite.
We've seen what Matt Barkley has done in the league. He has not
sort of, not really against starters, but yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. He's probably not going to be the one stepping in there. But that being said, we will definitely have to keep an eye on these 2 teams as we move forward in the NFL these few weeks. We're going to take our first break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some Dallas Cowboys and some Dak Prescott. Some insight on what we think the Cowboys should do when they end up having 2 healthy starting quality quarterbacks. So take our first break and be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching.
Hey!
The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey, we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. We're going to talk some Cowboys now. We're going to talk some Dak Prescott. Talk about whether or not we think he should be the starter when Tony Romo's back. Now, Dak currently is playing very well. He has 1,486 yards passing, 7 touchdowns. He threw his first interception this Sunday. Up until then, he did not throw any. He actually set the record, the pass before his interception, for most completions before an interception for somebody to start their career. He's played very well. He's added 67 yards rushing and 3 scores as well. He's not using his feet as a primary thing, but he's definitely getting his touchdowns. He's getting 3. So currently he is sitting at, look at that, 14 touchdowns to 1 turnover. He's playing pretty well. He's got a 0.5 interception percentage for what he's throwing currently. That is better than almost all of his opponents, who are currently sitting at a combined 1.7. He's playing great. He's got a quarterback rating of 103.9. He's only taken 9 sacks this year. I mean, the offensive line is protecting for him, but they're not always amazing. You know, guys get tired. He's looking great. He's looking like the rookie of the year, if not for that running back right behind him, rookie Ezekiel Elliott, who's looking amazing. But do you think Dak Prescott should be the starter when Tony Romo comes back? And I think I know your answer.
Oh, absolutely. I even tweeted it out on Sunday. There's no way I can see Tony Romo as the starting quarterback for the Cowboys this year. And I do think somehow, I think Tony Romo might be traded this offseason.
Do you now?
I do, yeah. Because the way that Dak Prescott,
the 49ers?
No, maybe, but I'm not gonna. No. He
if you want a quarterback that doesn't,
no,
fit.
he doesn't fit
Yeah.
Chip Kelly's offense.
You can get one that barely fits that worse.
They don't have a quarterback that can fit that offense now, and I know they have.
I
know they have Kaepernick. He's a potential fit, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
Yeah, I was
talking about some Dak here.
I could see Romo. I mean, I don't know if they would trade him. I mean, he's done so much for them. That is so unceremonious of them to just dump him like that. And I get it if they have Dak and looks like who could be a future quarterback for them and starter for them, but just dumping him like that, just Alex Smith and him.
I know that's terrible to say, but do you really want Tony Romo and Dak Prescott on the same team when Dak is performing really well?
Well, we have no idea how Tony Romo would have played this year.
Yeah, we don't know that either, but come on, you can get something valuable for Tony Romo. He has done really good things in this league. He's been really underrated. But I do think the way the Cowboys have been playing, they have to go younger at the position at quarterback. Dak has performed well. He's probably second in line for Rookie of the Year because I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to win it.
As of right now, it looks like that.
So I do think they have to stick with Dak Prescott here. He has won 4 straight games. No, 5 straight games.
Since their week 1 loss.
Yeah, 5 straight games. And he went into a hostile environment in Green Bay, and it's not an easy place to play. He played the best game of his short career this past Sunday.
Of poise?
And poise, yeah. He looked poised. He looked like a veteran.
You know what's impressive to me, too, is he's doing a lot of this without Dez Bryant.
That, too.
Who would help a rookie passer, He's Cole Beasley's his leading receiver.
I think he made Cole Beasley better.
Well, Romo's made Beasley look pretty good, too, in the past. But you're right. He's opened up the field for a smaller guy like that. Terrence Williams looked good. He's not using Jason Witten as much as I would thought he would have in terms of young quarterbacks like to use those big tight ends that can just post up and catch passes. He hasn't used them the same way, but looking good. He's made Bryce Butler look good at times.
Exactly, and I didn't even know Bryce Butler was in the league still.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thanks to Dak Prescott, I do know that now.
He's made Lucky Whitehead look not too bad. I mean, he's not getting a lot of offensive time, but he has 1 catch for 35 yards, so Dak found him.
There you go.
But Yeah, he's looked good. But see, the thing is, people say this offense is something different with Dak. Yeah, of course it is. It's a different type of quarterback. But you look back to when Tony Romo was healthy a few years ago, and he took him to the NFC division series, right? A game away from the championship game. He was right there. And then that catch no catch Dez game, that clearly worked for them. They had DeMarco still, they had him, and they had Dez. They had a triplet set up, and they have the possibility to have the same thing. Dez gets, healthy. You have Romo still, who's a very good quarterback. And you have Ezekiel who's playing lights out, You still have that ability because you're telling me that Romo can't take advantage of them stacking the box for Ezekiel Elliott,
Oh, no, he can.
He definitely can.
No, he can. It's just the thing about Tony Romo, he's 36 years old, has multiple back and neck injuries.
Collarbones, both,
and
I think.
That worries me a little bit.
No, I definitely understand what you mean. I mean, I'm not saying go get rid of Dak by any means. But Romo's done so much for the team. It's just so hard for me to be like, yeah, he's absolutely going to, come and sit. You know what I mean? Dak is insanely humble about this whole thing, too. He's like, if he comes back, this is his team, If I get benched, that's what happens. He's been really awesome in terms of the way it sounds and understanding on that aspect. So that was super cool to hear. It seems like the kid's got it all figured out.
Oh, no, he has it up here.
He's wise beyond his years.
Yeah, and I got a question. I got to ask you something here. It's what if Dak somehow takes the team all the way deep into the playoffs? I'm not saying the Super Bowl because this team's fairly young. I don't know if they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I still think this is the Vikings' conference to lose. But
the Vikings aren't in that conference. Oh, you mean the NFC?
The NFC.
I thought you meant division. Yes,
no.
Yes, I believe what you mean there for sure.
Because I do think the Vikings are the NFC favorite as of this year. They're just
as of right now.
As of right now.
Lights out.
So what's to say Dak Prescott ends up going to the NFC Championship game? Kind of like I don't want to compare him to Colin Kaepernick, but what if he has that type of Colin Kaepernick year when Kaepernick was the height of his career? And remember when they dumped Alex Smith the next year, and that same offseason. I can totally see the Cowboys doing the same thing to Tony Romo, because if you had a quarterback that literally took you really deep in the playoffs, and Tony Romo has took this team deep into the playoffs before, but when you have a guy that's 36 years old, and he has a lot of multiple injuries, he's pretty much at the end of his career, and you got a young quarterback here who's playing like a stud, there's no way you cannot play Dak Prescott the year after.
Do you want to know a good comparison situation?
Sure.
Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady.
That's another one. That's another one too that's been talked about. And look how way that Tom Brady has turned out. Look how that team turned out. And I'm not saying Dak Prescott is going to be Tom Brady, but it's close. It's close to that too.
Well, in the sense of how well he's played to start his career, yes. And then yes, you had a older quarterback in Bledsoe. Somebody who had been around for a while. Definitely had his injuries. I mean, the play that ushered Brady into the league in terms of a starter was an injury to him, So if you look at it that way, I mean, and then, everything turned out amazing for the Patriots in that sense. But I look at it as, you're right. Romo has had plenty of injuries. He's he's up there. I don't think, you're in any danger of losing Dak in that sense if you want to keep Romo around for a couple of years, you know what I mean? If in that sense, So I don't look at it like it's an absolute inevitability. I think it can go a couple ways. I know Jerry Jones is just he's always been in love with Tony Romo.
Yeah,
and a huge Romo fan.
Yeah, he's been high on Romo since Romo's been on this team.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and don't forget.
And remember the guy that Tony Romo plays too, Drew Bledsoe. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Drew Bledsoe's just getting run on.
Man, you got to feel bad for Drew Bledsoe.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
But I mean, you're right. Romo's been in the league for 14 years. I mean, that's a fact. And he was undrafted. He's the definition.
Eastern Illinois.
Eastern Illinois, yeah. It's Garoppolo. He's the definition of a guy that has made plenty of his situation. So, I mean, I think, for one, if he gets released or traded, somebody will get him. Somebody guaranteed the Jets,
Jets. He would be a good fit with
Browns.
He would be a good fit for the Jets.
Just start thinking of teams that could use a quarterback.
Browns, I
perennial quarterback needy
I think the
teams.
Browns need to.
I think they should stick with Kessler a little bit.
I think they stick with Kessler too. Yeah.
But I'm thinking of teams that need a quarterback.
Maybe the Bears.
Ooh,
maybe the Chicago
nice.
Bears. Because there's no way I see Jay Cutler on this team
next year. No, I don't think so.
He's not good. He's not good fit for the Niners because Chip Kelly's offense does not fit Tony Romo. I know Romo can run a little bit,
barely. But he's big arm kind of guy.
Exactly. He's down
the field.
So I don't see him going, but I literally see maybe the Jets and the Bears as a possible fit for Tony Romo if the Cowboys happen to move on. But
I would have to look at a list of teams and literally look at them and go, no, yes, no, and then jump through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe he goes to the Panthers.
Panthers
runs the same exact offense as Cam Newton. But I think so. I think we're kind. I see that you. So you think Dak should stay the starter? I think he should stay the starter too, in the sense of if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing.
That's the thing too, and it's like, I don't believe in putting like a quarterback in the middle of the season if the team is winning.
Oh no, I get what you mean. Unless it's absolutely
if this team was. What's to say somehow this season was a disaster for the Cowboys, then I would have said maybe they could put Tony Romo, but the year is kind of lost in sort of a sense, so maybe you can somehow salvage the season. Because remember the division that the Cowboys have been in, and last year when Tony Romo tried to come back, they were still in that division. But they were still in that division, so they still had a chance. But it looks like the Cowboys are kind of running away with this division, so to speak, because I think they have like a 2-game league, if I'm wrong.
I would have to go look, but I believe you are.
They are in first place in this division.
Yes.
And
I mean, I agree with you. Yeah. I do. I think keep Dak, keep Coach working for you, personally. That's what I'm thinking.
And this is probably one of the best rookie quarterback and running back duos I've seen in a while. Ziggy Elliott and Dak Prescott, man, they have just hit the money in the draft in the past few years. I'm talking about the Cowboys here. Mm-hmm. They have drafted well.
Built that offensive line, helped the defense a little bit. Definitely helped the offense this year.
That defense is playing spectacular too. Yeah,
they played well.
Who would have thought that?
Who would have thought somebody like Skip Bayless is correct on something for once?
Yeah, who would have thought that?
Not me.
Not me either.
Well, you know what I think?
What?
It's time for our second break.
Okay, let's go.
Let's take that. We'll come back, and we will do some quick college stuff, some who we think is going to make the playoffs, who we think might fall out of the playoffs, so on and so forth. We'll do that real quick here. Take our second break and come back and do that here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and one little bit of news I want to say before we get going. There was a trade this morning. The Chiefs have traded Niall Davis to the Packers for a conditional late-round pick from the Packers. So, Niall Davis, backup running back of the Chiefs, who have an embarrassment of riches at the running back position from Jamal Charles to Spencer Ware and Sharkhandrick West. He heads over to the Green Bay Packers, who currently in need of one. Eddie Lacy nursing a ankle injury, and James Starks just had knee surgery. They have a running back on the practice squad, somebody I'm very familiar with, Don Jackson from Nevada, who I played high school football with, as a matter of fact. Hey, Don. But they needed somebody, apparently wanted to sign somebody also with a little bit more experience. So they brought in Niall Davis.
Yeah, and then I think they're going to use Ty Montgomery.
They've been using him a little bit too, yeah.
As a receiver, running back, high-red player. And they're probably going to use him like that this Thursday against the Bears. But we'll talk about that this Thursday.
We sure will. Let's get into college football. So Jeremiah and I are going to talk about teams we see as locks or more so favorites for the college football playoff, and some teams we see falling out. Currently, as it stands, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson are in if it goes 1 through 4 in that sense. Of course, who knows if there's leapfrogging, all that kind of weird stuff that happened a few years ago, as we saw with TCU and all that weird stuff. But as it stands, the top 4 teams, like we said, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson. If we're going by the top 10, Jeremiah, let's pick the two most likely to stick in the playoff conversation.
Okay, top 10, probably Alabama and Clemson.
You're giving it to Alabama and Clemson?
Because 2 and 3, we're not so sure about those two teams that are going to stay here.
Well, one of them has to lose, and one of
them
them
has
will
to
drop
lose.
out of the top
so
4.
that's why we don't know. And I really want to say Michigan's going to win, but Ohio State is just in a different class.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State's going to win.
But Jim Harbaugh has turned around this program.
And
quickly.
he literally did. Yeah, his first year they were already somewhat turned, and then he turned them all the rest of the way around last year, and then now they're just sprinting in that direction he turned them. So Michigan looks good, and unfortunately one of these teams is going to lose, and it's almost unfair in that sense. We'll see if they drop very far. Maybe they work their way back up in the top 4 with one win, depending on who loses, But, yeah, Bama's probably the most secure in their spot unless they get completely, just utterly, surprisingly, shockingly upset by somebody.
It could happen against Texas A&M this weekend.
Yeah, Texas A&M, the number 6 team, also undefeated.
I'm not ruling that out.
I never rule anything out with some of these SEC matchups. Bama's so hard to try to get cute with, and predict things, but I'm not going to rule it out either. I'll give you that. I think, Bama's probably the most secure in their spot. I think Ohio State, too. I think they can also win out. I think they can beat Michigan. I think their offense is a little bit better than Michigan's defense is set up as. Clemson and Washington, I think no matter what, if both of these teams finish the year as they sit at it currently, there's no way Washington gets in because of the lack of difficulty in the remaining schedule for them. To the point where you and I have said before, we see Texas A&M possibly sneaking in and ahead of them in the next few weeks in the college football poll because of the difference in strength of schedule. Personally, as it stood last week of the top 10, Washington had the 7th or 8th easiest schedule of the top 10 teams. It's not somewhere you want to be in the sense of a countdown, of a poll, because that's going to affect you a little bit, I mean, me personally, that's how I look at it. Louisville, long shot for sure. I don't see them getting in if people don't just lose.
I still think they might have a slim shot because they do have that game against Houston, but
I think the problem is I don't see Clemson losing. I don't see Washington losing.
I see them exactly. I don't see them getting back in the top 5. That Clemson game really hurt them. So.
Yeah, there's no way I see them moving up again because of the fact I don't see Clemson really losing. I don't see Washington losing. I definitely don't see Texas A&M losing, and they have no right to be ahead of any of those teams, in my opinion, as of now, based off of their loss to Clemson, who they definitely can't leapfrog if Clemson never loses, who's currently, say if they never lose, they'll hold on that 4 spot. Well, there you go. You know what I mean? Unless they move into a spot vacated by Ohio State.
Louisville actually has a tough opponent this weekend. They play NC State. NC State has played tough the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
against
NC State's looked good.
Notre Dame, and then they almost beat Clemson. They should have beat them, and then they take on Louisville next. So this NC State team is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. They're going to be tough. A spoiler for the ACC this year.
I think Jeremiah's pick for college football playoff has to be Western Michigan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man. Of course, man. I see them running the table. I see them running the table like 100-0. I'm kidding.
100-0.
No, Western Michigan. They're a good team.
They'll drop out eventually.
They'll drop out. No.
You think they can drop out of the top 25?
I don't know. They're playing really well in that conference.
They're playing well, but look at their competition.
But I think that's high. I think I see them going as probably. I don't see them going to top 15. I kind of see them staying in the top 20 the whole year. Mm-hmm. But anyways, going back to my potential locks.
Yeah, who do you think? You said locks.
I said, okay, Alabama and Clemson I think are my locks because Ohio State, Michigan, those 2 teams are not locks right now, in my opinion. I think because the level of talent on these both teams are close, even though Ohio State is more in a different class. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that these 2 teams are playing at the end of the season, I can't say that both of these teams are locks.
I think one of them would have to be.
One of them will have to be, but we don't know. Michigan can come out and upset Ohio State.
But I'm saying whoever the winner is, I feel like would be a lock.
Oh, no, they will. That's why I'm not saying it right now, because when if Michigan beats Ohio State, that means Michigan's going to the playoffs, and Ohio State beats Michigan. That's why I can't say either of them. I can't name one clear-cut favorite off that. That's what I'm trying to say there. But I do see Clemson as a playoff team. But this Clemson team kind of reminds me of the Florida State team from 2 years ago, in a way. When Jameis Winston's final year. They remind me of this team. It's like, remember, coming off of a national championship win, that Florida State team, they just didn't look the same the year after. And that was the first year of the playoffs.
But they were
quote unquote good. They were still good. But I do see some similarities between those teams. But as far as a potential team to enter this race, Washington and Texas A&M, out of these two teams,
got to go A&M.
You got to go A&M. If both of these teams end up undefeated, which I don't think Texas A&M will, they do play Alabama this weekend. Even if Texas A&M loses that game against Alabama, I still think they have a better shot of being the number 4 team than Washington. Because if Washington clinches a playoff berth, they're going to get destroyed by all 3 of these teams. Any 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, Washington's remaining schedule is this upcoming week. They have Oregon State, then they have Utah, then they have Cal, then they have SC, then they have Arizona State, and they finish the year off with the Apple Cup on Thanksgiving against Washington State, who might not be a pushover game. You know, Washington State
might be
plays
ranked,
them great every
They
year.
might be ranked by that time.
Who knows? I mean, they did the same thing last year. They ended up in the mid of the 20s.
Yeah,
you know?
Washington's been playing really good lately.
So, I mean, you have those next 5 games, Oregon State, Utah, California, USC, and Arizona State. Nobody really, to me, is a significant – I mean, Utah is 19th. I think UW will run them. Cal's not great this year. SC's not very good. Arizona State's not bad, but I still think the UW will run them a bit. Oregon State is going to be playing with their 3rd quarterback. You know, their starter got hurt. The next series, their backup got hurt. They'll be playing with their 3rd-string quarterback. I don't think they'll play very well. I don't see them winning that game, especially against how good the defense of UW is. I mean, you look at the people they've beaten, too. The only significant wins they have are Stanford and Oregon the last 2 weeks. And, yeah, they blew them out, but Stanford's starting to look like something different. Oregon's not what they have been. Their schedule is not strong at all. So I definitely get what you mean. Even if Texas A&M was to lose, they could still find their way back up, even if not past them at some point, you know? I think Washington might be one of those teams. Say Texas A&M wins. Say Louisville keeps winning, and Washington, right? I could see Washington falling, even if they don't lose games because of that schedule.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, this Washington team is very good. They're very young,
good.
But I still think they're a year away from being a really legit playoff contender. And I want you touched on the Huskies schedule. Look at the Aggie schedule. They started the year off beating ranked UCLA, who were 16 at the time, and UCLA has kind of fallen off. But that was a really good win. We didn't see that coming. We thought UCLA was going to be kind of like that. We thought they were going to be the class of the South Division, and that's not the case. And then Arkansas, who keeps tinkering around the rankings for a little bit, they beat them. And then Tennessee, they almost lost that game, but, you know, of course, with Tennessee, they always come back.
Yeah.
So they do have a tough matchup with Alabama. I don't see Texas A&M winning this game because I don't think so. It's hard to go against Alabama.
Yeah.
And plus they're playing at Tuscaloosa. So I think they can make it interesting, but I have them losing this game. But looking forward after that, you got New Mexico State, okay, win. At home, that's a win. Mississippi State, win. Ole Miss, 23. I don't know if Ole Miss will be ranked at the time, but I think they can win that game. It's at home. And then they got University of Texas at San Antonio at home. That's a win. And then they end off the year.
Texas, San Antonio.
And then on Thanksgiving, they have LSU, who is the 25th team right now. And I don't know if they're going to be ranked at that time also. But that's also a win. But these are tougher opponents that Washington's going to face. Remember, LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State, those are tougher opponents that Washington is going to play in the Pac-12 right now. Because Pac-12 has been kind of the weak Power 5 conference this year. It is the weakest one.
Yeah, with the drop-off of some of the better teams.
It's been the weakest one.
Yeah, I mean, they still have multiple teams in the top 25. You know, they started the year with multiple teams in the top 25, but with the drop of UCLA and Stanford and Oregon not playing great, you know, Washington playing well, you have Washington State playing well as of late, you have Utah obviously playing well, Arizona State's been playing pretty decent. Good, but I get what you mean. The notable ones have really not been showing up.
Yeah.
I agree, man. It's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. You know, I love when this part of the year where we start getting the more in-depth AP 25 polls.
All right, so I got Alabama.
Yeah. I
think it's going to be Ohio State 2.
Me too.
Clemson 3, and then A&M 4.
All right.
Yeah,
That's going to be tricky if A&M loses this week. We'll have to see where they get ranked.
I think if they lose, I still think they have a shot. I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska enters this race as well, because they are undefeated at 8 right now. And then Nebraska does face Ohio State, so that's why I can't give them a shot, because that Ohio State game is going to be tough.
Yeah, the Ohio State game's going to be a tough one. We'll have to see what the schedule, or not schedule, have to see what this poll looks like next week and really start looking from there, because I think it's going to look drastically different.
Oh, it's going to be a lot different, especially from 6 and on.
Oh, yeah. I think, definitely from 6 and on. But, of course, we'll bring that to you on Monday when we come back. Tomorrow, Anthony will rejoin us, and we will talk we'll talk our Wacky Wednesday and our For Real segments. And we'll have news for you as well throughout tomorrow as anything and everything comes up. But until then, we'd like to thank you as always for listening. For Anthony, I'm Alex.
I'm Jeremiah.
And we will see you guys tomorrow. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Jeremiah's going to listen and record his fantasy football show, so you guys should check that out as well. There's a commercial on there earlier for that. Check it out. Listen to him. He's very good at fantasy football. You guys love it. If you love this show, you'll love that show. But as always, thank you for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.